Blood Brothers is the latest release by Scope Pictures,
Scope Productions.
Scope Productions, and it stars Sharnas.
Sharnas Ahmad and Syafiq Kyle as the lead, but this is basically an ensemble affair, right?
Yeah, you can say that.
And it's again directed by good old Syafiq Yusof with a co-helmet this time,
Yeah,
which is Abhilash Chandra.
and I have to say that upon reviewing, upon further discussion with our peers after the film,
which is pretty heated, to say the least.
which we will talk about at some point in this video, a lot of it feels more, somewhere in the middle. Chandra, then it's just Syafiq Yusof thing.
Yeah, and
Abhilash thing.
I'm not trying to discredit Syafiq because you see a lot of his stuff. It's in here as well, right? And especially
Yeah, we will get to that.
you get to that. But apparently, I've seen like this PSA that Abhilash Chandra previously directed, and wow, on his own, Abhilash Chandra, the cinematography is very, very slick.
Yeah, just like
and
this
detailed
movie.
as well. Yeah.
You see this movie, it feels like the understanding of the film language is more in depth in a way, that so much so that the guy really understood the assignment, that when he's doing a PSA, he's doing a PSA. When he's doing a film, he's doing a film. Whereas before, where you see just Syafiq Yusof, especially anything that is have his name attached to it, sometimes kind of feel like a PSA thrown into there.
And as much as we love Sheriff, that is the thing with, in general, what Scope Production does. Because especially during Yusuf Haslam's reign as the director and the founder of the company, right? He's really like upholding our police, which is a good thing. But sometimes you have to remember that everyone, including our police force, are humans too.
Yeah.
So to only show them the good side,
Surely only showing the audience the good side.
only the audience the good side, it's not really
Yeah,
a
it's
good
going
thing.
to like a propaganda territory sometimes.
Yeah, and Sheriff, even though it's a step in the right direction, it still feels preachy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, who's the actor again? The sheriff in this one, like the captain.
Oh,
The
Sharnas.
detective.
Sharnas.
No, the
the
detective. Like,
detective. Oh, Zamari Sham. Yes. Zamari Sham. Yes.
Zamari Sham.
Yes.
Yeah, he is depicted aptly as an actual police person.
DSP Adlin. Yes.
Not in the sense that make them look bad, or even in this case make them look good. It's more like make them appear as they should be.
Yeah.
Sometimes they keep it a little bit rough
And
with
sarcastic.
the civilians, and especially people who they suspect to be criminals. They're a little bit profane, and that is okay. In the sense that, if you think about it, you cannot be too lenient with people, even the civilians, because you have to inflict some kind of fear, or at least to keep people like, hey, keep it moving, in the moment, right?
Yes.
So in that sense, it feels like more human, more like the police in a way, Again, and not to say we are pro police or anti police, is that when we see anyone, even like a floor sweeper, we want the floor sweeper to be depicted as the typical floor sweeper that we see in a mosque or something, right?
Yeah. just treat people kindly, but also treat them as humans.
And write them and execute them, show them, depict them in films as they would be in the real world. And the movie, in terms of execution, fiction, like the other characters too, the flow of the language is so natural.
Yeah, and segue to that, going to that, the subtitles. Boy, I mean, as you know, or if you don't, I sometimes I practice doing subtitles, right? Editing them or creating them from scratch.
They should know by now. You say that almost every
I
time.
know. I'm just gonna remind you them in case there's new viewers, right? So because of the leniency of the 16 rating, they're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes too much fun. For example, I don't know, an Indonesian movie, for example. And then for the American market, I think it's an American that subtitled it. So they tend to be like, instead of encapsulating what they're saying, they sometimes like, I'm putting myself in their shoes as an American. And for example, law memang gak bagus. And then how they would say it is like in the subtitles, man, you're fucking incompetent, you piece of shit, something like that. They like play around with that, something like that. And that translates also in this movie subtitle. I like that how that is pretty unhinged, right? But sometimes not everything has to have profanity in it. Sometimes they play too much with that. What I would do is like I would sprinkle a little bit when it needs to be, not all the time. It feels like sometimes they put that all the time when because the rating system they feel like really weird to put every single cuss word that they can in the subtitles. Yeah.
As a pure civilian on this subject matter, I'm just glad to say that I don't mind the subtitles, meaning that I saw a word badass there and it applies for that scene.
Yeah.
For what they're describing, and that's all that matters to me, because to me, as long as I understand what they're saying, and in case I don't understand, when they say verbally, I can look or the subtitles for it to fill it in for me, right? And the fact that I don't feel distracted if the subtitle is awful, and the movie itself in terms of its audio doesn't require me to look at the subtitles all the time. And the fact that I don't mind it, it's like I never pay attention to it all that much. That's good. Because it takes a really shitty subtitle. When it's shitty subtitle, then I will realize it. It's like you're watching like Rogue One or something like that, right? I always said, yeah, this apparently the 3D was really bad when they tried to do Tarkin, Realm of Tarkin or something like that. But while I'm watching it, at least for me, I did realize it was CGI at the time. Include these pieces, Leia and everything like that. To me, as a barometer, in that sense, in terms of 3D, or in this case, the subtitle, as a civilian, as a guy who has nothing to do, that has no background in the making of these things, that process of it, it's good. I'm just saying that if you're like me and you normally wouldn't realize it, I'm just putting it to your attention that you won't be consciously putting attention on it. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Speaking of that PSA thing about police thing. So as we discussed earlier, right, about how the movies by Scope Productions
Previous works.
previous works tend to go to the PSA, route. This time, the story centers around an organized criminal, and they are the center of the story, and everything revolves around them, and they are within the morality within their world. Instead of like trying to shove in outside stuff, it interferes so much until it becomes like it doesn't. It's not the story. It's a PSA.
Okay.
Like they're not trying to preach any consequences of your actions when you do this in your life. No, it's just that when you do something terrible in the movie, that's what's gonna happen in the movie.
So, for example, right, there's a character, an important character died, and then a leader of what they call like a Naga,
Yeah,
right?
that's the name of the
A
syndicate.
Naga, right?
Yeah.
You say it's condolences, and so Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilaihi Raji'un. And then there's like a member of the police there. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
the Zamaru Hisham character.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, apa Islam lagi.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, I always wondered that,
Because
because yeah, you depict them like drinking wine, and some of them like the man wearing earrings, like in Islam you're not supposed to wear earrings like that.
yeah,
And then they like the wedding, what the women are wearing,
it's not very like,
Islamic, yet the actual exchange between
the exchange of vows
the
thing,
exchange of vows thing between in
the Tok Kadi
i-
and the groom.
Islam sense is
Yeah.
like the usually it's the father of the groom,
Yeah.
the
The
father
bride.
of the bride shaking hands with the groom, and the exchanges like that is Islamic, but at the foreground the daughter is wearing something not so Islamic,
Very, very
so it's kind of
Western.
like
Like
kind of like
we feel weird about it. And then
because it's like contradictory, right? And then in the movie itself is self-aware that there's like a contradiction going around. I like that.
yeah, that
You
is
know?
very weird because it bothers me a lot when these things happen in this movie. Like, they have these Malay names, and they even talk like in our, our how we talk in everyday life as Malays, as Malay Muslims. Yet we don't act like one. And then when suddenly, someone just pointed out, oh, Islam lagi, like,
Yeah,
are you still Muslim,
even
huh?
though, okay, that's like that's like the PSA side of it. And there's also the normalization of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
certain type of culture. Not to say that these movies do it subconsciously, and I'm not just talking about scope. I'm talking about most films in the Malaysian market, right? Especially Malay films. It kind of feels like sometimes they're trying to normalize a bit, right?
Yeah.
And I am not the most pious person out there. That's not what I'm getting at here. It's just that sometimes they do some things that are contradictory, and the movie is like normalizing what we don't usually see on the screen. Because sometimes there's a point where you depict things a little bit too much, that at one point it kind of indoctrinate people in some kind of way, whether it's intentional or not. And this movie, they don't do that. And sometimes in terms of execution, right, this is where Syafiq comes in a bit. And this is
Yeah.
where I'm going to talk a bit about like
How Syafiq inserts himself in this
not
collaboration.
not so much about
Really?
that. I just wanna not so much about that, but there will be an example of that, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Coming
Okay.
up
Okay,
soon.
okay.
This is the part where I am like technically speaking not talking behind my friends' back, because they are the ones that I know will watch this video.
Hi guys.
So what's up, my good people? You know who you are. So it's okay. These are like the things that we talk about like when we were like lepak at mama after we watch the movie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So one, okay, I understand what tropes are. I understand what cliches are. There are distinct difference and everything like that, right? And that is a trope where a guy in a gangster film, of which this movie is kind of. So before that, I want to clarify this, right? Before going there, I want to clarify, because he kind of stopped where I lost my train of thought before. I'm going to continue it now.
All right.
This has nothing to do with the KL Gangster franchise. Totally new story, totally new characters. And when it comes to the organized crime part of it, it's in the sense that technically speaking, they are by the books. They are following law. They are very legal. But there is a side of the bigger organization that is kind of a crime organization
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is so ingrained with the loopholes of the law that they are not deemed as so. So that's why when we say organized crime, this is one of the cool movies where it is technically speaking, they're not criminals, but there are sides of them that are kind of like criminal like, that they were able to enshroud in the public what do you call it thing.
Public consciousness.
Yeah, it's kind of like back to what you always like. How do Al Capone or John Gotti get away with all of this for all these years, right? It's because they kind of play around with the loopholes of the law. So
So
this is one of those Malaysian movie where they actually show a crime syndicate that is not really a crime syndicate technically. So it's like it's actually organized. I like that.
basically mafia. For all intents and purposes, it's close
Yeah,
to
but
mafia.
the
Yeah.
main depiction is that they're a security.
Security firm.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, back to your train of thought.
Okay. So there is this thing where a criminal boss to show, oh, I'm actually like this badass guy actually. So they want to show how angry he is and how we're supposed to be scared. Oh, scary. And then they take off the shit, and then you see tattoos. Which let me say, I understand the trope. I can see that the tattoo this time don't look like chewing gum tattoo like in the movie The Assistant, right? This looks like actual tattoo with actual good designs, with actual meaning behind it. I can understand it. I just don't prefer it. And with me saying that I don't prefer it, I'm not saying that this is not an established trope. This is not an intelligent thing to do. And I'm not even saying that liking it is bad. I'm just saying that I don't prefer it and I'm kind of sick of it. But they did do that in the movie. And my argument is a bit about like how do else do we depict that this guy is showing that he's serious and he's like about to flip. He's changing to revealing that essentially a monster or supposed to be to have this authority over everyone, right? I understand. I'm saying just by continuing the movie without the need to take off the shit to show that he has tattoos, because again, it shows kind of a prejudice. Oh, you have tattoos, you're bad. You have tattoos, you can't be a chef in the kitchen. Like, who cares, man? Like, you have tattoo or not, doesn't matter. But what does matter, if you want to go there, some tattoos have no meaning. Just like who's that comedian who's not funny?
Which one?
Pete Davidson.
Pete
He's
Davidson.
removing a lot of his tattoos that
He
don't make
removed it
sense.
already. Yeah.
And then there's like people like Yella Wolf, the rapper that basically no Malaysian, no Malaysians, no.
Even though he co-signed with Eminem,
Yeah. His
basically.
tattoos all have meaning, so he
Yeah.
kept it.
But to the movie's credit, it's not a Yakuza tattoo. It's not a chewing gum tattoo.
It's not a chewing gum tattoo. It's not trying to replicate another. It's not trying to appropriate another culture. It does has its own meaning that I don't know. I can decipher on first watch. I have to pause it to watch, I guess. But what I'm saying is, like, as the movie continue, exactly after that scene, he take out the shirt, and then he starts to,
Do something.
yeah. So to me, you don't need to show the taking off of the shirt, which he didn't do up to that point in the movie. Whereas before, in the early parts of the movie, there is some clues that he would be a dangerous person anyways, right? But the point of this is to show that he changes, right? He changes to show that, to confirm that back then there is a clue that he is this person all along. Again, I don't understand. It's like a comedian being offended at a person being offended at their joke. Sometimes people are offended at a joke because they don't find it funny, not because they don't understand the joke. It's just that they do understand it, and because they understand it, they're like, I reject that because they did join with it. Because you're not gonna please everyone, right? Right? That part doesn't please me, but the rest of the movie does. This movie is a banger, and then there's also the other part. The other friend, he tries to defend me because we had this long conversation, right? It's been so long. It feels like an abadi. It feels like never ending, right? So he tries to make you like, I know what he's trying to say, saying like what I'm trying to say, right? That there's this part, there's this trope or this like an homage, right? Doing in there that feels off. Like for example, a character goes, "Oh, abang mahu join." It's like the trash talk, the typical gangster stuff, which is an obviously an homage to, if you don't know, right, by now, again, to his brother. His brother, Syafiq Yusof, the director, right? Co-director of this movie. His brother is Syafiq Yusof.
Yeah.
His world, people tend to talk like that, right?
In his gangster
So in
world,
this film, in this universe, it doesn't make sense for the characters to talk like that. But he did take that, the few cringe microseconds, to include that simply because, oh, see, I'm paying homage. So yeah, in a way, after a while, at least in the Malaysian gangster movie context or anything gangster adjacent, that has become a trope in of itself. And to include that, whether it's just a trope or an homage, right? It can work, but it doesn't work this time too. So for my friend who's trying to back me up, it doesn't work for him. I think that after he said that, I think it doesn't work for me too. Just like the shit taking off and the tattoo thing doesn't work for me, right? And then there's also the case of my friend talking about like this scene is like, this is kind of a spoiler but not really. I have to see it. It's like a minor spoiler. So a guy says that cover us, right? Cover us, and then this one guy, he starts shooting, right? This thing is what we call, especially in movies when there's shootings, it doesn't even have to only be in crime movies, but it can be in any movie that involves gunfire, right? It's called a suppression shot, when someone is going to walk down the hallway and you want to distract the opposition on the other side, right? To not shoot them, so that, when you shoot them, instead they're going to focus on you instead of your two friends that are going to go forward, right? So that's called a suppression shot. It's funny. Okay, one, it's good that they include the suppression shot in the first place, because that feels like Chandra more than Syafiq.
Yeah.
But when it feels like Shafi again, that guy is like, he starts shooting and killing 2-3 people when he's supposed to be doing a suppression shot, which is like, he overdoes it. That's kind of funny. It's
Yeah,
like,
the overdoing things is a
Yeah,
Shafiq thing. Yeah.
you're going to do a suppression shot, which is an intelligent move that we rarely see in a Shafi Yusof movie. So that's why we say this is a Chandra thing. And then
Yeah.
immediately after, the suppression shot is not just a distraction, straight up killing the people.
Yeah,
freaking
that's
funny, man.
that part is very Syafiq Yusof.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And then there's like, it reminds me of, we mentioned the names, right? It reminds me of Eminem when he's in a song where he's featured in, and
Oh
it's
my
like,
god.
dude, Eminem, you're only a guest of this song, right? But Eminem, no, I know I'm the guest, and then proceeds to give like the most cool cadence and the most badass wordplays
Bars,
all
yeah.
around bars. And again, like not just in terms of how each and every one punchline works. It's also if people like that features him, right? Give 16 bars, he does 32 bars or something. It's just
Yeah,
overshadowed them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
and then even the DJ, even the producer goes like, okay, let's do a beat switch when it's Eminem's turn. It's like,
Oh my
dude,
god.
Eminem, you're just there
You're just a guest, bro.
you're there to make these people
Supplement.
supplement,
Supplement.
look better, make them look better, not be the you're not supposed to be the sharpshooter. You're supposed to be the guy who does a suppression shot where someone is trying
Yeah, yeah.
cover someone, right?
Yeah, and I think this should nicely segue to the performances. And as usual, um, I don't know, I'm gonna put the picture of the three Shafiqs, right? Somewhere in
I got
editing.
it. I got the shot.
Yes,
I got
yes,
it.
yes. I was like,
But we
finally.
didn't do this. We
Yeah,
forgot to do the Spider-Man thing.
yeah,
Oh
but
god.
alas. But anyway, all right. So speaking of Shafiq Kyle, again, this is yet another movie with Syafiq Yusof and Shafiq Kyle working together, right? So yeah, he's as usual being his A game, right? He improves more and more and more and
More
more.
ranges somehow.
Yeah, and oh yeah, I want to talk about your favorite part about Shahnaz Ahmad.
Oh yeah. So there's this
He
thing.
even glazed Shahnaz Ahmad himself
Okay,
during the
let
PC.
me say. Ni bukan soalan tu saya nak cakap dekat Shanas. Saya suka this. I don't know if this is like intentional, tapi saya nak cerita macam Polis Evo 3 macam this less is more kind of action guy. Macam selalu kan orang macam gerak dengan henchman. I think you start to master this like macam kind of like vicious one man punya kind of like army punya archetype. Okay, proceed to the question. Right? That's it. That's it.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's this thing. My friend, the same person, he said that, oh, this is the most Bollywood like movie things like, but I kind of disagree because in Bollywood this is kind of throwing shit on the Bollywood, but I don't care, I'm gonna say this anyways.
Yeah.
Like where they
This
do this one man army thing where they throw everyone, and I'm the main character, therefore I'm badass, I beat down everyone and nobody can beat me down in return, right? They didn't do that in this movie, but my friend, I can kind of see the similarity where my friend would say it's like Bollywood, but this is where the difference is like starts to um what do you call it thing stand out, right? Whereas in a Bollywood they do that, right? For the main character. There's this thing where Shanas kind of play like a antagonist like or antagonistic to the plot somewhat. And then he comes in not with a bunch of henchmen, he comes in alone. And it kind of matches like let's say, okay, it's a good example. Sicario. If you've seen Sicario before, it's kind of exclusive to Sicario. Funny enough, I can't think of any other franchise that does it. There's like 10 people. They just destroy everything like the Gestapo, and nobody is able to kill them back because they're all good, right?
My
So think of
god.
it like that. So when I say Shanas has been doing this thing in what was it like Police Evo 3, and now in this movie, he feels like 10 people coming at once at you. And the direction by like by Syafiq, Kyle and Chandra here.
Syafiq Yusof
Syafiq Yusof
and Abhilash Chandra, yes.
Abhilash Chandra here.
Yeah.
Abhilash. That's his first name. Sorry. Abhilash is able to make this thing work again. Not that Abhilash is involved in the previous movies. It's like Police Evo 3.
I think he was in like the staff writers
Oh, he is.
behind the
Oh,
scene.
he is also. All right.
Yes,
So
yes.
actually, that is my point. Helps my point even more, right?
Yeah.
Being able to do this one man army thing well. Again, not in the I'm the chosen one, nobody can beat me. It's like if you bring in 10 people, it looks badass, like the Sicario people. And then when he's alone, he's just as badass as if it's like 10 people combined kind of thing. In these two movies, I can see this thing going on that Shanas happens to play both of these characters. I just like it. I think it's cool. This like because to me, I kind of have a problem with antagonists that are purely cowardly simply because of their cowardice, and they are actually incompetent. And they, when the protagonists do get to them, they don't fight back as if they don't want to live. Whereas before they throw everything at the protagonist, henchman after henchman, weapons after weapon, traps after traps, right? But then when the protagonist got to them face to face, in one room, somehow they don't want to fight back to live. Like, isn't that what you've been doing the whole movie? Why do you stop now? Right? Like, fam, like, even if you can't fight, should at least claw the other person, fight like a bitch, do anything, Like Joker in desperation. Joker is not a fighter, right? But why people love Joker and Batman fights, because Joker in a moment of desperation would take like a pipe and try anything, like a street fighter to survive fighting Batman with all of his like martial arts and his intricate weaponry, right? So this movie, there's another antagonist, right? This guy, right? He is actually badass. I'm not saying he's the strongest that ever was, but he's actually good at fighting. Whereas before, he's been throwing a lot of henchmen, right? Not because he's cowardly, he's just using all the resources that he can. And even if he was cowardly, if you perceive it as such as an audience, doesn't change the fact that he can hold his own when push comes to shove when he is alone. I respect that. The movie does both. Where there's an antagonist that don't over rely on henchmen and can fight even when he's alone. On the flip side, there's another antagonist that would use anything and still can hold his own when he's alone. The movies are not without its flaws, of course. There's like this one scene when people are just like, they hear a bunch of
You
sound
want
and
to talk about the flaws now?
like they just breeze it by because it's not that important, right?
Oh, okay. Let's talk about the
Yeah, just
flaws
just
right now,
just a
because
few.
there's a lot more good things to say.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the
Yeah,
flaws now.
like then like a bunch of people hear like a car is coming
Oh, that
going
oh
through a
my that
wall,
was
and then they just like
oh.
um we're building suspense to something that we know is coming,
But the
but
word they go about is like, why going about it like this?
yeah, why waste more seconds than we need to? Let's just like,
They wasted time, space, and sound for
yeah,
that.
if there was a jump scare needed in a movie like this, that would be the time. We
Yes.
don't need the preamble,
Because the
audio cues. We don't need that.
because the payoff of that botch jump scare is really cool.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
get to it.
Yeah.
And then there's like the fact that they did we will upload at one point. It's gonna include spoilers, which is why we're not prioritizing that ever
Right now.
right now.
Yeah.
When we got to the press conference, right?
Yes.
Someone asked about, is there anything that they need to censor, and there's anything they need to cut. They did say 3 cuts, and one of it has something to do with some kind of like a twist, which is they thought that it was like weird that they have to cut it out, but Syafiq was like, yeah, buat macam mana, right?
Yeah, what can we
So,
do?
and the thing is, it's not felt for the most part, which is good, but sometimes it does feel like that during the first act. The first
Yeah.
act breezed too a little bit too
Yeah,
fast.
yeah, it's too fast. Like there's also discussion with my friends. They said that they're trying to do like film noir style. But the thing with film noir, you need some space for like the bad things there, for the things that they're narrating, like the visual, so that it can complement the contemplative tone of the narration.
The city at night is a different beast. It's a place where the shadows rule and the secrets lurk around every corner.
But it doesn't work because both things happen fast at the same time.
So what you ended up with is something I think akin to maybe the Doctor Strange intro, like
The first Doctor Strange.
the first 10 minutes of Doctor Strange, the movie.
Oh, okay,
Because
okay.
like you're supposed to know all these characters, but since again there's nothing to do with gangster or anything, these are new characters. You're like, okay, why are we breezing through this? Why can't we get to know these characters first?
Yeah, I mean,
Because even like that's what this one character that have a whole arc with him, and there is even like a touch there where it felt more human there, and the character, even though what he ended up being, right? But it is botched in its entirety simply because it feels like an unexplored arc right?
Yeah.
Rather than a nice human touch, because they botched the first act, we don't get to know people enough, you know. So
Yeah, yeah.
so when we're supposed to feel for any character for whatever reason, whoever you want to get behind, you can't get behind them fully. Only some of the characters, because only some of them are given the enough time to be established. And with that said, there's like a 3 chapter thing going on, which is not really like a 3 act thing. It's more like actually a chapter, and I can confirm that because apparently before we left the mall, I just listened to the editor and the guy in charge of the sound design and everything. They were talking about how there's like a big arc for 3 specific characters, and I realized that only after they said it. If it wasn't for that, that's a nice touch there. And then the movie don't leave too much breathing room except for this one scene, which is kind of like a nice little moment. That is a good exposition scene where they eat cheesecake. I like that scene. It's a smallest scene which
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
wish we
yeah.
have more of.
Yeah, because this is what I feel like. It was
I mean, the flaw is that we don't have enough of those scenes. Not
yeah,
that scene. That
yeah,
scene
yeah.
is
We
good.
we
I like
we
more of
need.
that.
I mean, the movie is already like modeled as an epic crime saga with big cast of characters, in which every single one of those is like a cog in the bigger wheel. But unfortunately, Syafiq Yusof and Abhilash Chandra is not Martin Scorsese, so they cannot flesh out everyone before the eventual story they want to pay off afterwards.
Even though it kind of feels like, there's this with one particular character.
Mm.
It does feel like a Martin Scorsese's movie, like Goodfellas or something.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
does
yeah.
actually, yeah.
And
Because
then
I
there's
already
like
bring up
some
like
Godfather thing here and there, which I like. Which again, again, this is more like Chandra's like uh, uh,
Abhilash Chandra,
Abhilash.
Abhilash.
They call him Abhilash.
Ah,
Abhilash putting a restraint on Syafiq Yusof to
yeah.
make it an actual homage instead of a recreation of the scenes.
Yeah. Hey, dude,
Like let's like, oh yeah, put down the cake. Let's take a picture together. Like I like that.
we
Smaller parts.
already putting away, right? All the negative stuff right now. Most of it.
Yeah,
Clip.
the cast of characters.
Yeah, the MVP, man.
Yeah, the guy,
The
if he's reminded me of anyone, it would be like Erasing History, a character from Mickey 17.
okay,
Yeah, he
okay.
feels like that, but instead of that, he is more actually in this movie, and it's like a perfection of that character before.
So, are we talking about the same character right now? Because
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
he's
talk
the only
about.
guy.
We're talking about. I hope. Okay, we're
I
talking
think
about.
he's easily gonna be the most people's favorite, which is not my favorite, but I get why everyone the buzzing around is
I'm just
talking
going to
saying
say
he's
the
the favorite.
character's name, Jackie, played by Shazwan Zulkifli. Right? Am I right?
Yeah, because he's the
The
only character.
blood brother of Shafiq Khal's character Arif.
The thing is, there's like a cool discussion, right? In these movies, right, you get to see people like Shafi, Yusof and Shafiq Kal have worked together before.
For a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Shafi Yusof has worked with Chandra, but he
Abhilash.
Abhilash Chandra. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm doing the surname thing. So
Yeah,
it
we're
doesn't
not
really work.
American, okay?
Okay, sorry, I keep doing that. Okay, Abhilash Chandra, right? And apparently, again, this based on what my friend has said, Ayam Farid is not supposed to be in Syafiq Yusof circle yet. He is part of the writing crew and does play a character that's similar to Jackie, and he does play his friend after all,
Yeah.
which he writes some of the jokes, and I'm kind of glad that there's the Venn diagram of these two people who are in the same circle before they
But
come
now they
together
are.
in this thing.
Yeah.
Because of Abhilash Chandra. Like it's kind of cool, right?
And
Because like this is somewhat of Ayam Farid's greatest works, because it is like there's okay, let me tell you right now, right? All of the actors, the acting is very top notch here.
Yes,
So
very.
the drama, the action,
The
and
camaraderie.
the
Yeah.
camaraderie, and also the comedy They are all working in tandem flawlessly, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's important, right? In comedy, same with horror, is the timing. That's
Yes.
the timing is perfect. The jokes land every time.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
when Ayam Farid says stuff. I love when Jackie says stuff.
I love
And
when
it hits, and you even like straight up say when we're watching the movie, they straight up say the name of the movie that they inspired with, and it makes sense at the moment or at
yeah,
the scene, and
yeah.
it's like, dude, the one-liners hit, the timing, the oh god, it's
Dude,
just so
even
good,
even
man.
exposition, Jackie's kid.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that was the timing is like so cool and it fits the personality of the character and the timing of which that thing happened. It's like,
Yeah,
oh god, this is a masterful writing,
yeah,
man.
because you struggle with budget and with that screen time also, right?
Yeah.
How much you want to allocate the budget
Mm.
for the screen time. What I mean by that, like for example, if you have like I kind of get, although I hate it, but I kind of get why Marvel used Christian Bale only once as the character Gore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because every time you spend with him, it's more money spent on the star power, right?
Yes,
But
yes,
in
yes.
this case, apparently, we ask, most of the budget is spent on the special on the
On creating the scene.
on the set and the practical effects,
Practical effects, yeah.
rather than spending time on the actors. So that's not really the problem here. But screen time is still a problem, right? In the sense that if you have this ensemble of actors and characters, right? You cannot spend too much time on every single character. So there are movies before, especially from the Yusof Hassan family, Yusof Hassan himself in the past, and Samsul Yusof in the
Yeah.
past, right? They have these characters that are like family members that are annoying, and they spend too much time on them. Sometimes it feels like Scarface, sometimes it feels uh like I don't know, like a mom character that was supposed to cry, and then they while this movie also have the problem where some of the music is too suggestive what we should feel,
Yeah.
it's still too far in the foreground in a good way. I mean, like it's still kind of not good in the sense that it doesn't complement the movie enough without trying to manipulate the audience,
And
or
making us suffocate.
auditory like response, right?
Yeah.
Because we still need the John Williams thing where in a Star Wars movie the music makes the scene more epic in the sense that the visuals and audio are all in equal footing, right? We're still not there yet with this movie, but at least it's not distracting to the point that the audio is trying to tell you too much and then we kind of hate it or whatever, right? But they still have that, right? But again, the music is in the foreground. It doesn't hurt too much. The time they spend on the kid doing the exposition, it makes sense for the character,
Yes,
and it is
yes.
genius because it saves time on his screen time, so we don't dwell on him too long.
Because
Unlike this review,
yeah, because a traditional scope production would stop the story and tell the sob story through flashback.
oh yeah, through flashbacks. Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't need
but this
flashbacks.
they played it up as a joke because that just fits the character and the predicament. So that's genius. Yes,
Yeah,
that's a cool
and
way of doing exposition.
I hate. Okay. So I don't remember who talked about this before, but it's something to do with the game Half-Life 2.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like one of the directors or is it Gabe Newell himself or something, right? You see a door, how do you open the door, right? You either like twist the knob and then you open it, right? But if it's locked, you can shoot it with a shotgun, shoot the knob with a shotgun. You can take a crowbar, try to crack
Try it out.
open, pry it open, right? You can kick the door, you can bash the door with your shoulders, right? Or you can, I don't know, lock pick it or something, right? You should be allowed the ability to do anything or when with everything that you have around you. You need to be resourceful. And everyone should think that way at the time, even if you're in a panic, right? But even if you're in a panic, the game, or in this case, the movie, should depict that the person will be in such a panic state that they cannot think clearly. Unless you do that, it's gonna take us out of it because we already know that this is fiction. So there's already the suspension of disbelief there. But at the same time, you cannot rely too much on the audience suspension of disbelief and just like that people not do what they're supposed to do with everything that they have at any given moment simply because the plot tells you. The movie doesn't do that. Everybody does something to the best of their ability, even if they're just civilians. I like that. Like I said,
Yes,
even
yes,
the
yes.
main villain fights back. I'm not saying that he's weak. He's not one of those weak villains. It doesn't matter if you're a weak villain. Again, Joker is a weak villain when it comes to his combat prowess, right? That's not the point. The point is you will use whatever you have at any time. And I love that everybody does everything. And there's no wastage of time. But there is like, oh yeah, there's one other flaw. There's this one character supposed to be a mystery. That is not a mystery because he's the only one with the facial feature
Yeah,
that
yeah.
there's just like, is this like
It's totally
this?
him, right?
It's totally, and I'm glad
Yeah.
also. Again, even though that's kind of flaw, they make it not a flaw because they didn't linger on that mystery too much. They didn't. They didn't
They
like.
move to, to keep the mystery
Yeah,
somewhat alive.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, just enough to make it a little bit of fun, but at the same time, they don't linger too much because maybe they also know this obvious, right? So
Yeah.
it's like you do something that's kind of like but then they fix it back, so you're like
So you can say this is like you've watched enough movies where they're trying to make it mystery, but the cast is so minimal. You can like, oh,
yeah,
it's not this person.
yeah,
Like
minimal in
straight
terms
away.
of volume, right? There's like whodunits that I saw. I think I remember like Psycho Pencuri Hati,
Yeah,
that
yeah. That one,
movie.
I'm totally referring to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
like it doesn't work because there's not enough characters. It does. They want to do whodunit, but there's not enough characters for you to be like maybe it's this guy or that guy. If it's just like, oh, there's five characters, like obviously that's one guy. It's easier to pinpoint, right? So this movie, even though there's that with one character, they didn't linger on it too much, so it's okay. It's okay again.
Oh yeah. I like how we're talking about all these like things, right? About how this is an epic crime saga and everything. How I like about it because none of it is original at all. We've seen all of this
Yeah,
all the time everywhere else because
including the action sequences.
yeah,
It has been done before, but what
and
is
even the way some of the drama and acting is being dished out, we've seen it before. But I like how this is a better way of making it very very localized.
yeah.
It's not an awkward attempt, unlike I hate to bring it up, but telekinesis. Oh my god, that's a bad example of how to make all the cliche stuff localized. It's very terrible take. This one, oh, I think it's because of Ayam Farid. Because you have to remember, he's also the script doctor for Lelaki Harapan Dunia.
The thing is,
Yeah.
like for example, in terms of execution, I give you an
If I'm
example.
not mistaken,
There's
yeah.
this scene is supposed to be like a camera footage,
Mm.
right? Instead of showing us things in a way that only a normal human eye can see, they did transition to that. So that when we
Mm.
do see it, we are not confined with what a camera should see. There are movies like, for example, this Taiwanese movie called Incantation, where towards the end, suddenly, this found footage film have a flashback of a character, and there are footages, and
Ooh.
there are scenes that straight out is like nobody can, you cannot record in a film what is in someone's mind state, right? Their memories
Yeah,
request. That
yeah,
doesn't make
yeah.
any sense. So the movie doesn't do that. So instead of staying in camera because someone is like shown like in a projection or projector, right? What is going on? Instead of lingering in that and then it could record things that a camera wouldn't see that can only be seen in perspective of a human's eye, like for example the viewpoint of another character, which again is
Mm.
not that character's eye is not the camera's eye, so to speak,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Instead of doing that, they just transition to
Transition to
like
what happened
from that
transpired.
thing, and
Yeah.
then they just zooms in and then it just drops the camera thing, so we can
Yeah.
just see it flash out without being confined to a camera. That's a good technique there. It's a
Yeah.
simple one. They do that quite a bit. Like again, the fight scenes are not totally original, but they do it so smoothly in the sense that okay, one, it kind of reminds me of John Wick episode 2 and 4, what I mean by that specifically, there's something that happened towards the turning point of the second chapter of John Wick, whereas a bunch of assassins are going after him, and there are many types of assassins. Like for example, there's gonna be like a guy who can murder a guy with a book, meaning that the kind of guy that can use that have like green beret training or something like that. They can just use anything in their surrounding as a weapon, right? Or it can be just me taking like a like a glass and just hit his head with it, his head with him one time, and there's like a sharp thing in this, right? So it's just a civilian trying to attack, or somewhere you just like got a gun and like face facts. If I take a gun and shoot him, I'm already a murderer. Maybe not an assassin, but I'm already a murderer. So in terms of wanting to collect a bounty, the job is done whether or not I am equipped with all the skills to fight and to assassinate and or to assassinate someone, right? So this movie understands that everyone is fighting with the best of their abilities, which like what reminds me of the fourth chapter of John Wick is the museum scene, for
Oh, the
example.
musician. Oh, yeah.
That's henchmen, right? But unlike the henchmen and any other stuff in the past, right? This is also akin to like the writers say, the writers slash directors says, they are more looking towards the east side of thing, which John Wick also refers to,
Yeah.
right? The more hand to hand combat thing, going back to Serbuan
Maut,
Maut,
aka the
aka
Raid
the Redemption.
Yeah.
Yes, these are henchmen, but if you're the badass that beats up people to survive, right? They're the badass that beats up people to survive too. So why then are they easily taken out? So they're not. So in John Wick Chapter 4, like all the henchmen, each and every member is hard to take down.
Because they are
So
part of the organization,
yeah.
so they have
So
to be
when you
strong.
see like in this case, like the member of the security firm, if you're fighting a member of security firm, you're going to be at the same level. But when you're fighting a civilian, you're just gonna beat them out in one or two punches.
Yep.
So the movie understand that. I'm glad. A bad example of something that doesn't make sense. For example, a movie Guns Akimbo starring Daniel Radcliffe,
yeah.
right? So he's just a guy with two guns nailed to his hand. He can't really. He's not a shootist. He doesn't
He's
train
not
to shoot.
shooter, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
A shootist is also a word.
Alright, okay.
Yeah.
I am right.
What I mean, like a shooter is like a guy who take and just shoot, right? But a shootist is more of someone who delve deeper in the art of shooting. So
Alright,
it's a better word for that
I'll-
actually.
I'll take the word.
So he's not. He's just a civilian.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's in this death game where he is forced to use that. The entire movie he fumbled, which makes sense because he is not again a shootist. He's not an expert in shooting. He's just a civilian. But suddenly, towards the third act, he can shoot everyone like
Perfectly.
perfectly as he's a marksman all along.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a marksman before that. He hasn't trained to be a marksman. There's no montage or anything. Suddenly he can shoot because why? It's a third act. Like it's in the wrong movie. The movie is called Guns Akimbo. It's not Harry Potter. There's no magic mumbo jumbo involved.
Yep.
That doesn't make sense. But this movie, going back to Blood Brothers, it makes
Yeah.
sense, including the title.
Yeah, I was
I
about to
made
like
a joke
where you gonna
about like a guy would need a a blood transfusion. Well, it does not occur as I would think it would entirely. There is even though off screen, there is blood transfusion involved in it. But other than that, there are other blood. The movie is depicting like you come from the same womb, so you definitely blood brothers. There's nothing there's your
it's
biologically
scientific.
biologically speaking
biologically speaking,
blood brothers, right?
Yep.
But are you really brothers? Other than in the sense that most homes are houses, right? But not all houses are homes, right? So how do you apply yourself? Like for example, I can be estranged to this guy. So maybe we're not brothers anymore. We are biologically speaking, but we're not really. In the sense that we act that way. We have a brotherly bond and everything like that. The movie constantly questions that and philosophically ask that questions
Oh, yeah.
question all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
It poisons both of facets of
Yeah.
being a family.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
are you really brothers? Is the default biological connection an actual connection? Is it not? Is blood thicker than water? It's like this person that you choose to be your brother going to be your brother, or it's like maybe you choose someone as your brother, but they don't reciprocate. They don't feel the same way. This movie always questions that, and it's like one of those times where it always talks about it without saying is the name of the movie, without saying blood brothers all the time. They barely say, they don't say blood brothers even once.
But
Like
they
straight
do
up,
say bunch of blood and brothers
yeah,
here and
but they
there.
don't
Yeah.
say blood brothers,
Yeah.
right?
Because
Straight up.
I will be annoying people when I keep saying that's the name of the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
It's my
that's
propaganda
why
joke.
I agree that the movie don't give him
The
the
chance.
chance.
Yeah.
But
Screw you.
my friend on my right did make a joke. By the way, I just gonna say it. It says, brother kena selalu berada belakang brother. You know, it's just I just have to put it out there, right? So back to this. Other than like, no, it's like the movie justifies its title all the time.
Yeah.
There are movies that just give the just say this is the name of the character, right? And therefore this is that of the movie. Some people can say it's lazy, but if the movie does nothing else but talk about the character, then it can be fine.
Yeah.
In this case, it sounds generic, Blood Brothers, but
It is the heart and soul of the story itself.
yes, the philosophy
The philosophy, yeah.
behind the words working as a compound.
Now that itself makes this a film, not a movie.
Yeah.
Because it's just like it understands everything, but while not forgetting, we also need to entertain people at the same time.
Oh yeah, when they do entertain, they entertain. And
Oh, it's all to the wall,
16
man.
classification
Mwah,
chef's
justifies.
kiss.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the violence is, while not over the top, they hit the mark.
Really did,
I like
really.
it. I like it. The effects are nice. And dude, the execution is perfect in the sense that we can't tell which part they switch with the defenders, aka
Which is the movie stunt team.
the
Yeah.
stunt team, and the actors themselves. And to me, again, as a civilian, as a guy who's like a layman, right, watching it and not realizing, that should give you an idea
Oh, maybe I have a theory here because
of the quality.
in Malaysia, right, we can't afford to have like there are attempts to do stunt double, but they fumble. I've seen a bad attempt to do stunt double in Malaysia. I remember the movie Syndicate. Unfortunately, also unfortunate for Shahnaz Ahmad for starring in that movie. Because there's clearly like a fight scene in the end. It's supposed to be like a climactic fight scene. It was supposed to be him fighting the main antagonist, and then they keep like switching between scenes to make it more intense. And then clearly, that character was supposed to be Shahnaz, but it was totally a different guy altogether, which is clearly a stunt double who doesn't even have the same build and look and feel as Shahnaz Ahmad. Like, oh my god, Shahnaz, I'm sorry for you to be in that movie, man. But you're great in here. You're doing your own stunt.
Yeah.
Syafiq is doing his own stunt. All the actors doing their own stunt. And
the way the character is depicted, that's good in that movie. I like the one man army kind of thing, but that I can agree with.
yeah,
The stunt.
and I don't think, like I said, this movie that I don't think they apply too much. Or maybe like you said, it's so unnoticeable. They may actually do double, but I don't see it. But for the most part, I think it's mostly the actors themselves. Plus, and I think most of the defenders stunt team is the other bodyguards and the other criminal syndicate members.
The thing is, the point is, when we watch it, do we realize we don't? That's
We
good.
don't.
We
Yeah.
did our job.
Yep.
That's it. That's all that matters. And that's what we call movie magic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's example that sometimes as movie reviewers, especially in countries that don't produce movies as much, we can be a little bit biased towards what we do consume for the most part, and we kind of like put down our own industry,
Yeah.
if you can call it one.
It's very
Right,
small one.
right,
That's why
right.
we don't keep calling that.
But here's what Hollywood does bad too. Dude, remember Iron Fist season 1?
Oh, mau.
The fight
Oh.
that was in the same location that was in John Wick. Really, that
Mm.
guy don't even have the same build. He's taller, he has a different haircut than Finn Jones, and
Jones.
we're supposed to believe that's Iron Fist. That's bad,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What I'm saying is Hollywood does that too.
There was Scott
And
Buck cutting
that's
corners.
how about we go
Oh.
with this thing? I don't even remember what it's called. So we just look it up. Now it's called canon narration, thanks to the Jontron video of Animorphs.
Yeah. Great
It
show.
means a literary device that moves the plot in a story forward by showing a canine/dog to do whatever it wants on screen. Like Hollywood does this a lot, if you remember, especially in those throwaway Disney movies where
Oh, where you use
like they don't know how do
dog
we move the
moves.
plot? How do we transition from one scene to the next?
Oh,
Where
let's dog
we're
go
gonna
wherever he
have
wants.
like the dogs like, what is it, boy? And then they just start following the dog to another place, to another, and they start another scene altogether. And the only reason why they move to that plot is because they're following the dog. That's canon narration. It's really stupid. And the thing is, if you don't know, in Malaysia, right, most people, and all Malays, it's illegal for us not to be Muslims, and therefore we usually tend to not have dogs as pets.
Yeah.
And because that is not commonplace, it's also not commonplace in the story that is trying to depict in real life, where we have a dog to lean on to move us to transition us to the next scenes and the next scenes. We never had that. That's one thing. Even if like one thing, not just this movie, Blood Brothers don't do. Most other, I think all Malaysian movies, including the ones that depict non-Muslims, use canon narration as a literary device, which is good. Which is the one thing we want up Hollywood at. You have to admit that.
Take that.
Yeah, take that, Hollywood.
Yeah, screw that. Take
Yes. What's the score? 10-1. We still have one.
that.
There you go.
Boy. Malaysia boleh.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything that's like so different that we have to talk about. Other than that, yeah, the ending totally look like, oh, they're gonna have a continuation or whatever.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds some people of Fast and Furious, and I guess it's fine.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, if they
Yeah.
want to do another movie, go ahead. If you guys like really support this movie, only then they're gonna do
A sequel.
a sequel, which is a good thing to directly hear from the host's mouth, the co-directors, both of them.
Yeah.
Simply because, you know, we need another movie that is after Iron Man 2008 and other movies like that. We do not need movies like in the age of the MCU. And you know what I'm talking. If you don't know, yeah, you're not gonna have a good conversation. It's like this kind of people who say there's toxic masculinity in Black Brothers. That's none. That's none. If you watch a movie Kate before, even women is willing to, you know, do revenge if something will happen to them, and they are trained in the art of killing, they're going to have that, try to have their revenge too. It's not a exclusively male thing. And you know what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
you know who you are.
Yeah. Speaking of, I forgot to add something about what I don't like a little bit about the action, which is still, I mean, they already have a good model. John Wick. Use it. You know what I mean? Like, the fight is still in the same ballpark of area, right? Why do you need cuts? Why do you need like different angle? There's, I mean, it's a nitpick at this point, but it's distracting for me because they were like,
But the cuts are cleaner than most.
it's cleaner. It's cleaner. It's just distracting that
Yeah, it's still
they
kind of
couldn't like
distracting to the more
eagle-eyed.
And more of the
Preview, yeah.
action scene aficionados.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
Yeah, it's distracting, but you know what? The whole movie is already like a banger. I'm like, that was a nitpick. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but it's just distracting for me.
So
But
that's why this movie, although as fun and great as it is, it's not perfect. I'm going to give it a 9.3 out of 10.
Yeah, around the ballpark, mine is 9 out of 10.
Go ahead, go
But
watch this movie.
Yeah, still And from the sound of it, yeah, it sounds like we like this better than Sharif.
Is worth the hype. Just go watch it. It's worth the hype, but don't rely on the hype to tell you if it's good or not. And it made me realize a lot of these reviews may sound similar, and a lot of these movies may sound similar, simply because we live in the age where it's not a discovery age anymore. Everything
Mm.
is, not to say all of it is cookie cutter, but everything is inspired by everything else.
Yep.
And sometimes the imitation are not conscious, some of it is unconscious because we all inspire each other.
Yep.
But I'm just saying that this is one of the good ones. Just like you have one good burger, there's nothing stopping you to have another good burger.
Yep.
Go get your burgers, go get your movie tickets. This is another banger.
Why are you talking about burgers right now?
No, that's just an
I know,
example.
I know. But when you talk about it now, I'm feeling kind of hungry for snack.
Oh yeah, we did woke up late today. We have a late dinner, but that was like 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to get some burgers, and this is where we're gonna edit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no burger review, and unfortunately, our old burger review video still haven't been edited yet. There's a
Yeah, that's
Brothers Ali Law that we will eventually release that, but probably by that time that video wouldn't be relevant anymore to the place that we're covering. But yeah, that's a story for another time. That's where we leave you. Peace out.
bye-bye. Blood brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.